Do not listen to this recording while driving or operating machinery. Only listen when you are in a safe, quiet space where you can fully relax and bring your complete awareness to your own comfort, allowing yourself to surrender completely to this journey of peaceful release. Before we begin this transformative journey together, I invite you to subscribe to this channel, joining a community of souls seeking the same peaceful refuge from the constant chatter of an overactive mind. By subscribing, you ensure that more journeys like this one will find their way to you, each one a gentle doorway leading away from the endless corridors of thought and into the sanctuary of deep, restorative sleep. Now, as you settle into your most comfortable position, whether lying down or reclining in your favorite chair, allow yourself to recognize that this moment represents a conscious choice. You have chosen to step away from the relentless machinery of overthinking, from the anxious loops that have perhaps been your unwelcome companions for far too long. Tonight you are choosing something different. Tonight you are choosing peace. Feel the weight of your body as it settles into whatever surface supports you. Notice how gravity itself becomes your ally in this process of letting go, gently pulling away the tension that has accumulated not just in your muscles, but in the very fabric of your thoughts. Each breath you take is an invitation to release. Each exhale a small act of surrender to the natural rhythm that wants to carry you away from the busy intersection of worry and into the quiet countryside of rest. Your breathing, which has perhaps been shallow and quick with the urgency of endless thinking, can now begin to slow and deepen. There is no need to force this change, no need to think about breathing correctly. Simply allow your body's innate wisdom to guide each breath, letting it become fuller, softer, more spacious. As your breathing deepens, notice how it creates a gentle space between you and your thoughts, like a soft cushion of air that buffers you from the sharp edges of mental activity. Imagine, if you will, that your mind has been like a library where someone has been frantically pulling books from shelves, scattering pages, leaving volumes open to random chapters. Tonight we are going to gently close those books one by one and return them to their proper places. But rather than organizing this library through effort and will, we are going to allow a gentle librarian of sleep to move quietly through the stacks, closing each book with tender care, dimming the lights, and eventually locking the doors to give this space the rest it so desperately needs. Feel now how your eyelids are growing heavier, not with fatigue, but with the sweet weight of approaching peace. Each time you blink, if you are still blinking, notice how keeping your eyes closed feels more and more natural, more and more welcoming. Your eyes, which have perhaps been straining to see solutions to problems, to scan for threats, to read the endless text of worry that scrolls through consciousness, can now rest completely. Behind your closed eyelids, there is only gentle darkness, a soft space where images can arise and dissolve without urgency, without the need to be analyzed or understood. Allow your attention to drift now to the sounds around you. Perhaps you hear the subtle hum of electronics, the distant murmur of life continuing its course outside your sanctuary. Maybe the whisper of air moving through your space. These sounds, rather than disturbing your peace, become like a gentle river flowing past the window of your awareness. You can hear them without needing to identify them, without needing to worry about what they mean or whether they pose any threat. They are simply the ambient music of existence, and you are learning to let them flow by without catching your attention like hooks. Your body is beginning to feel different now, isn't it? Notice how certain muscles that have been holding the tension of overthinking are starting to soften. Your jaw, which may have been clenched with the effort of mental activity, can now release completely. Let your tongue rest softly in your mouth. Let your lips part slightly if that feels natural. The muscles around your eyes, which have been working so hard to focus on problems and solutions, can now smooth and relax, creating gentle valleys where there once were hills of tension. Feel this wave of relaxation as it moves down through your neck and shoulders. These areas, which bear so much of the physical burden of mental stress, can now let go of their vigilant posture. Your shoulders can drop away from your ears, settling into a position of complete rest. Your neck can release its constant readiness to turn toward the next source of concern. Allow your head to rest fully against whatever supports it, trusting completely in this support, letting the weight of all your thinking be held by something other than your own efforts. As this relaxation continues to flow through your body like warm honey, moving down through your arms, notice how your hands can uncurl completely. Perhaps they have been holding tension, ready to grasp for solutions, to write lists, to fidget with worry. Now they can rest open and soft, palms turned upward in a gesture of complete receptivity. You're no longer trying to hold on to anything, no longer trying to solve anything with the grip of your will. You are learning the profound skill of letting go, of allowing life to support you rather than constantly supporting life through your vigilant thinking. The wave of relaxation moves now through your chest, and as it does, notice how your breathing becomes even more effortless. Your rib cage can expand and contract with the easy rhythm of someone who has nowhere to go and nothing to figure out. Your heart, which may have been beating quickly with the anxiety of overthinking, can now settle into its own natural pace. Feel how your heartbeat becomes a gentle drum, beating not with urgency, but with the steady rhythm of life itself, reliable and peaceful. This relaxation flows down through your torso, releasing any tightness in your stomach, any knots of tension that have formed from the constant digestive process of trying to break down and solve every problem that enters your awareness. Your belly can now be soft and relaxed, rising and falling with each breath, like a gentle hill covered in soft grass, moved only by the breeze of your natural breathing. Feel now how this wave of release moves down through your hips and legs. These powerful muscles, which have been ready to run toward solutions or away from problems, can now rest completely. Your thighs can become heavy and relaxed, sinking into whatever supports them. Your knees can soften, no longer locked in the ready position of action. Your calves can release their tension, and your feet can rest completely, no longer prepared to carry you toward the next thing that needs your attention. From the top of your head to the tips of your toes, you are now beginning to experience what it feels like to exist without the constant companionship of overthinking. This is not a state of unconsciousness or dullness, but rather a state of clear, peaceful awareness. You are still present, still awake in the deepest sense, but the quality of your awareness has changed. Instead of being focused like a laser beam on problems and solutions, your awareness has become spacious and soft, like the gentle light of dawn that illuminates everything without creating harsh shadows. Imagine now that you are standing at the edge of a vast, calm lake at twilight. The surface of this lake is like a perfect mirror, reflecting the soft colors of the evening sky. This lake represents your mind in its natural state, before it became choppy with the winds of constant thinking. The water is so still that you can see all the way to the bottom, which is covered with smooth stones and gentle plants, swaying in the almost imperceptible current. As you stand at the edge of this lake, you notice that you have been carrying a heavy bag filled with thoughts, worries, analyses, and plans. This bag has become so familiar that you had forgotten you were carrying it. But now, in this peaceful twilight moment, you can feel its weight clearly. You can feel how it has been pulling on your shoulders, creating tension in your back, making every step an effort. Gently, without any sense of urgency or force, you can begin to set this bag down at the edge of the lake. As you do, you notice that it does not contain anything solid at all. Instead, it is filled with patterns of mental energy, swirling thoughts that have been circling like weather systems in the sky of your consciousness. As the bag opens, these thought patterns begin to drift out like gentle mist, and as they touch the surface of the calm lake, they dissolve completely, leaving not even a ripple behind. One by one, you can feel these patterns of overthinking leaving your system. The habit of analyzing every conversation, wondering what people really meant, what you should have said differently. This pattern dissolves into the lake like sugar dissolving in warm water. The tendency to replay difficult situations over and over, trying to find different outcomes, trying to prepare for every possible future scenario. This too dissolves, leaving behind only the clarity of the present moment, the compulsive need to figure everything out, to have a plan for every contingency, to know how every story will end before it has even begun. Feel this pattern as it lifts away from you like steam rising from warm water. You do not need to push it away or fight against it. Simply allow it to dissolve naturally, the way ice melts in spring, returning to its essential nature without effort or struggle. As these patterns continue to dissolve into the peaceful lake of your consciousness, you begin to notice something wonderful happening. Where there once was the constant buzzing of mental activity, there is now a quality of spaciousness that feels both new and strangely familiar, as if you are remembering something you once knew but had forgotten. This is the natural state of your mind, the way your consciousness exists when it is not being asked to constantly solve, analyze, and prepare. Step now into the shallow waters at the edge of this lake. Feel how perfectly warm the water is against your skin, as if it has been heated by some invisible sun to exactly the temperature that brings you the deepest comfort. As you wade deeper, notice how the water seems to have the quality of liquid silk, supporting your body with a gentleness that makes you feel weightless. Each step you take into this lake is a step further away from the gravitational pull of overthinking and deeper into the natural buoyancy of peaceful awareness. The water rises now to your knees, and as it does, feel how it seems to wash away the residual tension that your legs have been carrying. All those times your body prepared to run toward a solution or away from a problem, all the energy that has been stored in your muscles for quick action. Feel this dissolving into the healing waters of this peaceful lake. Your legs become soft and relaxed, no longer soldiers standing at attention, but graceful branches swaying gently in an underwater breeze. As the water reaches your waist, notice how it embraces your torso with the tenderness of the most caring presence you have ever known. Your abdomen, which has perhaps been tight with the anxiety of trying to digest all the problems that have been fed to your mind, can now soften completely. The water seems to massage away every knot of tension, every twist of worry, leaving behind only the gentle rhythm of your breathing and the slow, steady beat of your peaceful heart. Wade deeper still until the warm water reaches your chest. Feel how it supports you so completely that you no longer need to hold yourself upright through effort. You can trust this water to hold you, to keep you safe, to carry you wherever you need to go. Your arms can float freely at your sides, no longer needing to gesture with urgency or reach for solutions. They move with the gentle current of the water, graceful as underwater plants, responsive only to the natural flow of this healing environment. As the water rises to your neck, you discover something remarkable. You can breathe perfectly well in this magical lake, as if the water itself has become a different kind of air, a medium that not only supports your body but nourishes your lungs with each breath. Your breathing becomes even deeper and more relaxed, each inhalation drawing in not just oxygen but peace itself. Each exhalation releases not just carbon dioxide, but the last remnants of mental tension, the final wisps of compulsive thinking. Now allow yourself to release completely into this water, letting it hold your entire body in its warm embrace. As you float on your back, looking up at the vast evening sky, notice how your body has become perfectly relaxed, perfectly supported. Your head rests in the water as if it were the softest pillow, and you no longer need to hold up the weight of all your thoughts. The lake is thinking for you now, or rather, it is providing the space where thinking is no longer necessary. Above you, the sky has transformed into a canvas of gentle colors. Soft purples blend into warm roses, which fade into the deepest blues of approaching night. As you float and watch this natural artwork unfold, you realize that you are not trying to interpret what these colors mean, not analyzing whether they predict tomorrow's weather, not comparing them to other sunsets you have seen. You are simply receiving their beauty, letting it wash over you like another layer of the warm water that holds your body. Stars begin to appear in this sky, and as they do, you notice that each star seems to represent a different quality of peaceful awareness. There is the star of acceptance, twinkling gently with the light of allowing things to be as they are without needing to change them. There is the star of presence, shining steadily with the wisdom of being here, now, in this moment, without needing to be anywhere else or anyone else. There is the star of trust, glowing with the deep knowing that life will unfold as it needs to, without requiring your constant supervision and planning. As you float in this healing lake under this peaceful sky, you begin to understand something profound about the nature of thinking itself. You realize that thoughts are not solid things that you must carry, not problems that you must solve, not enemies that you must fight. They are more like clouds passing through the sky of your awareness, temporary formations that arise and dissolve according to their own natural rhythm. Just as you would not try to grab hold of a cloud or push it away from the sky, you can learn to let thoughts move through your consciousness without grasping them or pushing them away. Feel now how this understanding settles into your body like a gentle warmth spreading through your cells, your nervous system, which has perhaps been on high alert for so long, scanning for threats and problems to solve, can now begin to shift into a different mode of operation. This is the mode of rest and repair, the state where your body remembers how to heal itself, how to restore itself, how to prepare itself for tomorrow, without anxiety about what tomorrow might bring. Imagine that each cell in your body is like a tiny lake, reflecting this same peaceful sky. As your understanding of the true nature of thoughts deepens, each cellular lake becomes clearer and calmer. The constant waves of stress hormones that have been churning through your system begin to settle. The chemical messengers of anxiety and worry are gradually replaced by the gentle molecules of peace and restoration. Your brain itself begins to change its patterns of activity. The neural pathways that have been worn deep by repetitive thinking, like paths in a forest traveled too often, can now begin to grow over with the moss of peaceful awareness. New pathways begin to form, pathways that lead not to more thinking, but to deeper states of rest, to more profound levels of healing, to the natural wisdom that exists beneath the surface of mental activity. As you continue to float in this magical lake, you notice that your sense of time has begun to change. Minutes might be passing or hours, but it does not matter. You have entered into a different relationship with time, one where each moment is complete in itself, not just a stepping stone to the next moment that needs to be planned or worried about. This is the time of dreams, the time of healing, the time where your deepest restoration can occur without any effort or intention on your part. The water around you seems to pulse gently with a rhythm that matches your heartbeat, as if the lake itself has become synchronized with your life force. This pulsing creates gentle waves that massage your floating body, working out tensions you did not even know you were carrying. These waves seem to know exactly where to focus their healing attention, flowing over areas of chronic stress, lingering around places where overthinking has created physical knots and restrictions. Feel now how these healing waters are not just touching the surface of your skin, but penetrating deeper, reaching into your muscles, your bones, your very cells. This is not ordinary water, but liquid peace itself, and it has the ability to dissolve tension at every level of your being. As it flows through you, it carries away not just physical tension, but the energetic residue of years of mental struggle, the accumulated fatigue of trying to figure everything out. Your floating body begins to feel lighter and lighter, as if you are not just supported by the water, but becoming one with it. The boundary between your body and the lake becomes softer and softer until you are not sure where you end and the peaceful water begins. This dissolution is not frightening but profoundly restful, like finally being able to put down a heavy weight you have been carrying for so long that you had forgotten what it felt like to be without it. As this sense of dissolution deepens, your awareness begins to expand beyond the boundaries of your individual concerns and worries. You start to sense the vast network of life that surrounds and includes you, the invisible web of connection that links every living thing. From this expanded perspective, the problems that seemed so urgent and important begin to appear smaller, more manageable, less central to the meaning of existence. You realize that you are part of something much larger than your individual thoughts, and concerns, something that has its own intelligence and wisdom. This larger intelligence does not think the way your personal mind thinks, constantly analyzing and planning. Instead, it knows the way a flower knows how to bloom, the way a river knows how to flow toward the sea, the way your heart knows how to beat without any conscious direction from you. Floating in this realization, you feel a profound sense of relief, as if you've been trying to steer a ship that was already following the perfect current, trying to light a path that was already illuminated by starlight. You can let go of the exhausting effort of trying to control and direct everything, and instead learn to move with the natural flow of this larger wisdom. The stars above you seem to pulse now with this same intelligence, each one a point of light in the vast network of knowing that surrounds and includes you. As you watch them, you feel your individual awareness beginning to merge with this cosmic awareness, like a drop of water returning to the ocean from which it came. This merging does not erase your individuality, but rather reveals the deeper truth of what you really are beneath all the thoughts and worries that have been covering your essential nature like clouds covering the sun. In this state of expanded awareness, floating beneath the star-filled sky, you begin to receive a different kind of knowing. This is not the knowing that comes from analysis and deduction, but the knowing that arises from deep listening, from being present with what is, rather than constantly trying to figure out what should be. This knowing whispers to you now in a language older than words, speaking directly to the part of you that existed before you learned to think and that will continue to exist long after thinking has served its purpose and dissolved back into the silence from which it arose. Listen now to this ancient wisdom as it speaks through the gentle lapping of the lake water against your floating body. It tells you that you are safe, safer than your thinking mind could ever make you through all its planning and preparation. It tells you that you are loved more deeply than your analyzing mind could ever understand through all its attempts to figure out relationships and decode the intentions of others. It tells you that you belong here, in this moment, in this life, in this vast web of existence, not because you have earned your place through correct thinking, but simply because you are. Feel how this wisdom settles into the deepest places within you, places that have been crying out for recognition beneath the constant chatter of mental activity. Your soul, which has been waiting patiently for your attention while your mind has been busy elsewhere, now steps forward like a shy child who has finally been invited to speak. It has so much to tell you, so much love to share, so much peace to offer, but it speaks in whispers and silence, in the spaces between thoughts, in the pause between one breath and the next. As you float in this sacred lake, you become aware that you are not alone. All around you, just beyond the edge of your vision, other souls are floating in their own healing waters, each one learning to release their own patterns of overthinking, each one discovering their own path back to the natural peace that has always been their birthright. You are part of a vast community of beings, all moving toward the same recognition, all learning to trust the intelligence that flows beneath the surface of conscious thought. This awareness of connection brings with it a profound sense of compassion, not just for yourself, but for every mind that has ever been caught in the endless loops of analysis and worry. You understand now that overthinking is not a personal failing, but a kind of cosmic, growing pain, the mind's attempt to ensure safety and belonging in a world that seems complex and unpredictable. Your thinking mind has been trying to love you in the only way it knew how, by staying vigilant, by trying to solve every problem before it could hurt you. From this place of compassion, you can begin to thank your thinking mind for all the ways it has tried to protect you, even as you gently invite it to rest. Like a loyal guard who has been standing watch for years without relief, your thinking mind can now be given permission to lay down its weapons, to step away from its post, to trust that it will be called upon when its services are truly needed, but that it does not need to be on duty every moment of every day. Feel now how this permission spreads through your entire nervous system like warm honey flowing through every channel and pathway. Your brain, which has been firing with the constant electricity of mental activity, begins to slow its rhythms, moving from the quick frequencies of alertness into the deeper, slower waves of profound rest. These brain waves spread out like gentle ripples on a pond, each one carrying you deeper into the realm where healing and restoration naturally occur. Your body responds to these changing brain waves by releasing its own cascade of healing chemicals. Hormones of peace and contentment flow through your bloodstream like liquid starlight, replacing the stress chemicals that have been your body's constant companions during times of intense thinking. Your immune system, which has been suppressed by the chronic activation of mental worry, begins to strengthen and restore itself, remembering its natural ability to maintain perfect health and balance. As these healing processes unfold within you, you begin to sink deeper into the magical lake, not drowning, but being gently drawn into even more profound layers of peace. The water here is deeper and more still, untouched by any surface winds or disturbances. This is the realm of deep sleep, but also of deep knowing, the place where your consciousness can rest while your deeper wisdom continues its work of integration and healing. In these depths, you encounter gardens of underwater plants that sway with an intelligence all their own. These plants represent the aspects of your psyche that do not need to think in order to grow and flourish. They draw their nourishment directly from the water of pure being, their roots extending deep into the bed of the lake where the most fundamental truths are buried like treasures, waiting to be discovered not through excavation, but through patient presence. Swimming among these plants are fish of the most beautiful colors, each one representing a different quality of natural intelligence. There is the silver fish of intuition, moving with sudden flashes of insight that come not from thinking but from a deeper knowing. There is the golden fish of creativity, painting trails of light through the water as it moves, showing you that true innovation comes not from forcing new ideas, but from allowing the natural creativity of life to flow through you, unobstructed. A school of deep blue fish swims by, and you recognize them as representatives of wisdom, not the wisdom that comes from accumulating information and analyzing it, but the wisdom that comes from living, from experiencing, from allowing life to teach you through direct contact rather than through mental interpretation. These fish move with a certainty that comes from being perfectly aligned with the currents of the lake, never fighting against the flow, always finding the path of least resistance that leads them exactly where they need to go. As you watch these fish, you realize that you too can learn to move through life with this same kind of natural intelligence. You can learn to sense the currents of existence and move with them rather than against them. You can learn to trust the deep knowing that arises from your connection to the larger intelligence of life itself, rather than relying solely on the surface level knowing that comes from thinking and analysis. The water around you begins to glow now with a soft, phosphorescent light, as if the lake itself is alive with the light of consciousness. This light does not hurt your eyes, but rather seems to emanate from within your own being, illuminating the water around you with the radiance of your own peaceful awareness. You realize that you are not separate from this lake, not a visitor floating on its surface, but an integral part of its very essence. This recognition brings with it a profound shift in your sense of identity. You begin to understand that you are not just the person who thinks, not just the collection of thoughts and memories and plans that your mind has assembled and called by your name. You are something much more vast and fundamental, something that includes thinking but is not limited by it, something that can use the mind as a tool when needed but does not need to be constantly engaged in mental activity in order to exist and flourish. From this expanded sense of identity, the problems that have been causing you to overthink begin to appear in a completely different light. They are not personal catastrophes that require your constant attention and analysis, but rather natural fluctuations in the flow of life, temporary disturbances on the surface of a lake that remains fundamentally calm and undisturbed in its depths. You can acknowledge these surface disturbances without being pulled into them, the way you might notice waves on the ocean while remaining aware that you are the ocean itself. not just the waves. This understanding settles into your bones, into your cells, into the very structure of your being. It becomes not just an idea that you think about, but a lived reality that you embody. Your nervous system begins to reorganize itself around this new understanding, creating neural pathways that support peace and presence rather than anxiety and analysis. Your body begins to hold itself differently, with less tension and more grace, as if it is remembering how to move through the world as an expression of the deeper intelligence rather than as a separate entity that must constantly defend and protect itself. As this transformation deepens, you find yourself sinking even further into the lake, into layers of consciousness that exist far beneath the realm of ordinary thinking. Here, in these profound depths, you encounter the source of the lake itself, a spring of pure awareness that bubbles up from the very heart of existence. This spring has been feeding the lake of your consciousness since the moment you were born, providing the clear water of awareness in which all thoughts and experiences arise and dissolve. Touching this source, you understand that this is what you really are beneath all the layers of mental activity and personal history. You are this pure awareness itself, this clear, spacious presence in which all experience unfolds. The thoughts that have been causing you so much trouble are simply temporary formations appearing in this space, like clouds appearing in the sky. Interesting to observe, but not fundamentally threatening to the sky itself. From this recognition comes a profound sense of freedom. You no longer need to manage your thoughts, control them, or solve the problems they present. You can simply be the space in which they arise and dissolve, the awareness that witnesses their coming and going without being disturbed by their content. This is not a state of detachment that cuts you off from life, but rather a state of deeper engagement that allows you to participate in life more fully, because you are no longer constantly distracted by the commentary of your thinking mind. Resting now in this profound recognition of your true nature, you begin to experience what it feels like to exist without the constant need to think your way through life. This is not a state of mental dullness or unconsciousness, but rather a state of crystalline clarity, like looking through the clearest water you have ever seen. Water so pure and transparent that it seems to magnify and illuminate everything it touches rather than distorting or obscuring it. In this clarity, you can perceive the natural order that exists beneath the apparent chaos of daily life. You can sense the invisible threads of connection that link all events, all people, all experiences in a vast tapestry of meaning that reveals itself not to analysis but to patient observation, not to thinking but to being present with what is actually happening rather than what you imagine might happen or what you wish had happened differently. This natural order operates according to principles that are far more sophisticated than anything your thinking mind could devise or understand. It is the same intelligence that coordinates the beating of your heart with the flow of your blood, that knows exactly how to heal a cut on your finger without any conscious direction from you, that guides the migration of birds across thousands of miles of ocean without the need for maps or GPS systems. Feel now how this same intelligence is present in your own life, weaving together circumstances and experiences in ways that serve your highest good, even when your thinking mind cannot see the pattern or understand the purpose. Every challenge you have faced, every moment of confusion or difficulty, has been part of this larger intelligence working to bring you to this very moment, this very recognition, this very peace that you are now experiencing. From this perspective, you can begin to see your tendency to overthink, not as a problem to be solved, but as a gift that has served its purpose and is now ready to be transformed. Your analytical mind has been like a very bright spotlight, excellent for examining details and solving specific technical problems, but not very useful for navigating by starlight or seeing the broader landscape of your life. Tonight you are learning to turn down the intensity of this spotlight and allow your eyes to adjust to the softer, more natural illumination that has always been available to you. This softer illumination reveals aspects of reality that remain invisible under the harsh light of constant analysis. You begin to perceive the subtle energies that flow between people, the unspoken communications that happen through presence rather than words, the way that your own state of being influences everything around you in ways that extend far beyond anything you could control or plan through thinking. You start to understand that your most powerful influence in the world comes not from what you think or say or do, but from what you are, from the quality of presence that you bring to each moment. When you are at peace, this peace ripples out into the world like waves spreading from a stone dropped into still water. When you are anxious and overthinking, this too spreads outward, contributing to the general atmosphere of mental agitation that surrounds so much of human life. But tonight, as you rest in the depths of this healing lake, you are contributing something entirely different to the collective human experience. Your peace becomes a gift to everyone whose life touches yours, even in the most subtle ways. Your decision to release the grip of compulsive thinking creates space for others to do the same. Your willingness to trust the deeper intelligence of life gives others permission to relax their own vigilant mental guard. Feel now how this recognition fills you with a profound sense of purpose and meaning that has nothing to do with accomplishing specific goals or solving particular problems. Simply by learning to be at peace, simply by discovering how to exist without the constant commentary of overthinking, you are fulfilling one of the most important purposes of human life. You are becoming a beacon of the natural state of consciousness, a reminder of what is possible when the mind remembers its proper relationship to the larger intelligence of existence. As this understanding deepens, you notice that the water of the lake has become even more luminous, glowing now with colors that seem to exist beyond the normal spectrum of visible light. These colors speak to something deep within you, awakening memories of a time before you learned to think, memories of existing in pure being, without the need to constantly process and analyze your experience. These are not memories of a past life or a different world, but memories of your original nature, the consciousness you were born with before it became covered over with layers of mental conditioning. This original consciousness is still here, still available, still as fresh and clear as it was on the day you were born. All the thinking and worrying and analyzing you have done since then has not damaged or diminished this core awareness in any way. It has simply been temporarily obscured, like the sun behind clouds, always shining, always present, waiting for the clouds to clear so its light can be seen once again. The clearing of these clouds is happening now as you float in these healing waters. Each breath you take dissolves another wisp of mental fog. Each moment of allowing rather than efforting burns away another layer of the artificial identity that has been built from thoughts and memories and plans. What remains is what has always been here, what will always be here, the pure awareness that is your deepest and most authentic self. From this awareness, you can observe the occasional thought that still arises in your consciousness the way you might observe a fish swimming by in the clear water of the lake. The thought appears, moves through your awareness, and disappears again, leaving no trace, creating no disturbance in the fundamental peace of your being. You do not need to follow the thought, analyze it, build upon it, or push it away. You can simply let it be what it is. A temporary movement in the space of consciousness, no more significant than a wave on the surface of the ocean. This ability to let thoughts be without getting caught up in them is one of the most valuable skills you can develop. And it is a skill that grows stronger with practice. Each time you notice a thought without getting pulled into its story, each time you observe the arising and passing of mental activity without identifying with it, you are strengthening your capacity to live from the peace of your deepest nature rather than from the agitation of surface level thinking. Tonight, as you rest in these profound depths, this skill is being woven into the very fabric of your being. Your nervous system is learning a new pattern, a new way of responding to the arising of thoughts and concerns. Instead of immediately engaging with every mental formation, analyzing it, trying to solve it, worrying about its implications, your system is learning to pause, to breathe, to check in with the deeper wisdom that knows whether this particular thought deserves attention or can simply be allowed to pass by like a cloud moving across the sky. This new pattern of response is like learning a new language, the language of peace, the language of trust, the language of allowing life to unfold according to its own deeper intelligence, rather than constantly trying to direct and control it according to the limited understanding of your thinking mind. Like any language, it becomes more natural and fluent with practice until eventually it becomes your native tongue, the way you naturally communicate with life itself. As you continue to float in the luminous depths of the lake, you begin to feel your body becoming lighter and lighter, as if it is slowly transforming from solid matter into pure energy, pure light. This is not a frightening dissolution, but rather a return to your most fundamental state, the state of being that exists before form and after form, the consciousness that temporarily takes shape as a human body and mind, but is not ultimately limited by these temporary formations. In this state of energetic lightness, you can feel your connection to every other being who has ever struggled with overthinking. Every consciousness that has ever felt trapped in the endless loops of mental activity. You send them your peace like a gentle benediction, your freedom like a gift that costs nothing to give but enriches both the giver and the receiver. You understand now that your own liberation from compulsive thinking contributes to the liberation of all beings. Just as the peace of every awakened consciousness contributes to your own capacity to rest in natural awareness. This sense of universal connection and service fills you with a deep contentment that needs no external validation or achievement to sustain it. You are fulfilling your deepest purpose simply by being present, simply by existing in this state of peaceful awareness, simply by allowing your natural radiance to shine without obstruction. This is the contentment that comes not from getting what you want, but from wanting what is, from finding perfect satisfaction in the present moment exactly as it reveals itself. The water around you pulses now with the rhythm of this cosmic contentment, each pulse carrying you deeper into the realm where sleep and waking converge, where the ordinary boundaries of consciousness become fluid and permeable. You are approaching the threshold where your conscious mind can finally release its grip completely, trusting that the deeper intelligence will continue the work of healing and integration, while your surface awareness rests in the peace of dreamless sleep. But even as you approach this threshold, you carry with you the understanding that this peace is not dependent on sleep, not something that only becomes available when you are unconscious. This peace is your natural state, available in every moment, accessible through every breath, present in every experience, when you remember to look for it beneath the surface activity of thinking and reacting. As you rest now in this profound understanding, floating in the deepest layers of the healing lake, you begin to encounter the realm where individual consciousness meets the vast ocean of universal awareness. Here, the boundaries between self and cosmos become gossamer thin, like the surface tension between water and air present but permeable, allowing for a kind of breathing between your personal awareness and the infinite awareness of which it is a part. In this liminal space, you discover that your struggles with overthinking have not been personal failures or individual neuroses, but rather part of a much larger evolutionary process. Humanity as a whole is learning to balance the magnificent gift of analytical thinking with the even more magnificent gift of intuitive knowing. Your own journey from compulsive mental activity to peaceful awareness is contributing to this collective learning, adding your unique thread to the tapestry of awakening consciousness that is slowly being woven across the planet. Feel now how this larger purpose infuses your personal healing with cosmic significance. Every moment you spend in this state of peaceful awareness, every breath you take without the need to analyze or plan, every heartbeat that occurs in trust rather than anxiety is helping to tip the balance of human consciousness toward greater peace, greater wisdom, greater harmony with the natural intelligence that governs all life. This recognition brings with it a profound sense of relief, as if you've been carrying a weight that was never yours to carry alone. The burden of trying to figure everything out, of staying constantly vigilant against all possible problems, of maintaining the safety and order of your world through mental effort alone, this burden can now be shared with the vast intelligence that has been carrying the weight of existence since the beginning of time. Imagine now that you are no longer floating in the lake, but have become the lake itself. Your consciousness has expanded to encompass the entire body of water, from the sunlit shallows where thoughts occasionally ripple the surface, to the profound depths where only peace and silence exist. You are the lake, and everything that happens within its boundaries happens within the spaciousness of your awareness. From this expanded perspective, you can feel the healing that is taking place, not just in your own system, but in the systems of all beings who are learning to release their grip on compulsive thinking. You can sense the collective sigh of relief as minds around the world discover that they do not need to carry the entire burden of existence on their shoulders, that there is a deeper intelligence ready to share the load, ready to guide and support and care for life in ways that go far beyond what any individual mind could accomplish. This collective healing creates waves of peace that ripple out across the surface of global consciousness, touching every being in subtle but profound ways. The businessman lying awake at night worrying about tomorrow's presentation suddenly finds his breathing deepening into natural rest. The mother anxious about her children's futures feels an inexplicable sense of trust settling into her heart. The student overwhelmed by academic pressures discovers a moment of clarity that cuts through all the mental fog. These are not coincidences, but the natural result of consciousness healing itself at the deepest levels. As you continue to rest in this expanded awareness, you are participating in this healing not through any effort or intention, but simply through your willingness to be present with what is, to exist without the constant need to fix or improve or analyze your experience. The water of the lake, which is now your own consciousness, begins to pulse with a rhythm that seems to synchronize with the heartbeat of the earth itself. This is the rhythm of natural time, not the artificial time of clocks and deadlines and schedules, but the deep time of seasons and tides and the slow breathing of mountains. Entering into this rhythm, your body begins to align itself with cycles that are far more ancient and reliable than the mental patterns that have been driving your daily experience. Your cells remember this rhythm. Remember the time before human consciousness became caught up in the endless mental commentary about life rather than simply living it. They remember how to repair and restore themselves according to the natural cycles of rest and activity, how to process experiences and emotions without the need for mental analysis, how to maintain perfect health and balance through alignment with the deeper currents of life force that flow through all things. As this cellular remembering deepens, you feel your body becoming more and more relaxed, not just in the superficial sense of muscle tension releasing, but in the profound sense of every system trusting that it is being held and supported by something much larger than itself. Your immune system relaxes its hypervigilance, knowing that it is part of a larger immune system that includes the earth, the sky, the entire web of life. Your nervous system releases its constant readiness for fight or flight, recognizing that you are held within a safety that goes far beyond what you could create or maintain through your own efforts. This deep relaxation allows your consciousness to settle even further into the lake of being, sinking now into layers that exist beneath the realm of personal experience entirely. Here you encounter the source codes of existence itself, the fundamental principles that guide the unfolding of life not through rules or commandments, but through the natural attraction of consciousness toward greater harmony, greater beauty, greater love. In these depths, you understand that your experience of overthinking has been the result of forgetting these source codes, of trying to navigate life using only the surface level software of analytical thinking, rather than the deeper operating system of intuitive wisdom. Tonight, this deeper operating system is being restored. The connection between your personal consciousness and the universal consciousness is being reestablished. The natural flow of guidance and support is being reopened. This restoration happens not through any effort on your part, but through your willingness to stop efforting, to stop trying to control and direct your experience through mental force, by simply being present with what is, by allowing yourself to float in the healing waters of pure awareness. You create the space for this natural restoration to occur. As the restoration deepens, you begin to receive a different kind of information about your life and your challenges. This information does not come in the form of thoughts or analysis, but as a direct knowing that arises from the depths of your being, without needing to think about it. Which directions in your life lead toward greater peace and which lead toward greater agitation, without needing to analyze which relationships and activities nourish your deepest nature and which drain your energy through artificial complexity. This knowing is not judgmental or critical, but rather gentle and compassionate, like the guidance of a wise grandparent who has seen enough of life to distinguish between what truly matters and what only seems important. From a limited perspective, it does not demand immediate action or dramatic changes, but rather offers a gentle reorientation toward choices that support your natural well-being and away from choices that create unnecessary struggle. Feel now how this gentle guidance is being woven into the fabric of your nervous system, creating new pathways of response that will guide you naturally toward greater peace in your daily life. When faced with a decision, rather than immediately launching into mental analysis of all the possible outcomes and implications, you will find yourself pausing, breathing, and listening for the deeper wisdom that already knows what serves your highest good. When confronted with a problem, rather than immediately engaging in compulsive problem solving, you will find yourself able to hold the situation with compassionate awareness, allowing the natural intelligence of life to reveal solutions that your thinking mind might never have discovered. When experiencing difficult emotions, rather than immediately trying to understand and resolve them through mental activity, you will find yourself able to be present with the feeling itself, allowing it to move through your system and transform according to its own natural timeline. These new patterns of response are being installed now at the deepest levels of your consciousness, while your thinking mind rests in the peace of the lake. There is nothing you need to remember or practice or try to implement. These patterns will simply become available to you naturally, the way a new skill becomes available once it has been learned at the cellular level. The lake around you begins to glow now with an even softer light, a light that seems to emanate from the very essence of peace itself. This light does not illuminate objects or reveal details, but rather dissolves the boundaries between observer and observed, between experiencer and experience, between the one who seeks peace and peace itself. In this light, you are no longer someone who is learning to detach from overthinking, but rather the very peace that overthinking has been seeking all along. This peace is not the opposite of thinking, not a state that can only exist when mental activity ceases, but rather the source from which all healthy thinking arises and to which it naturally returns. It is the silence between words that gives words their meaning, the space between notes that allows music to exist, the stillness at the center of all movement that makes movement possible. From this recognition, you understand that you need never again be afraid of your own mind, never again feel threatened by the arising of thoughts or concerns. They are simply movements in the space of your peaceful awareness, waves on the surface of your oceanic consciousness, temporary formations that arise and dissolve without disturbing the fundamental tranquility of your deepest nature. As you rest now in this profound recognition of your essential nature as peaceful awareness itself, the lake around you begins to take on an even more magical quality. The water becomes so perfectly clear and still that it no longer seems like water at all, but rather like liquid light, liquid love, liquid presence. You are floating not in H2O, but in the very essence of consciousness itself, the fundamental substance from which all experience is made. In this liquid consciousness, you discover that you can breathe as easily as if you were in air, but each breath brings not just oxygen to your lungs, but pure peace to every cell of your being. Each inhalation draws in the essence of tranquility, and each exhalation releases any remaining tension, any lingering attachment to the old patterns of mental struggle. Your breathing becomes a perfect circulation of peace, a gentle tide that washes through your entire system with each breath cycle. As you breathe in this rhythm of perfect peace, you notice that your heartbeat has synchronized with a deeper rhythm, the pulse of life itself, as it moves through all of creation. This is the heartbeat that drives the expansion of the universe, the rhythm that guides the dance of planets around stars, the pulse that beats in the heart of every living being, from the smallest microorganism to the largest whale swimming in the deepest oceans. Feeling your heartbeat in synchrony with this cosmic rhythm, you understand that you have never been separate from the larger life of the universe, never been isolated in your struggles with overthinking. Even in your most anxious moments, even when your mind seemed most trapped in endless loops of worry and analysis, you were always connected to this deeper pulse, always held within the vast heart of existence itself. This understanding brings with it a quality of homecoming, as if you are remembering not just who you are, but where you belong in the vast family of consciousness. You belong here, in this moment, in this breath, in this heartbeat. You belong here not because you have earned your place through correct thinking or proper behavior, but because belonging is your birthright, your natural state, the truth of what you are beneath all the stories your mind has told about who you should be. As this sense of belonging deepens, you feel yourself sinking even more gently into the lake of liquid consciousness. But now you realize that sinking is not quite the right word, because there is no sense of weight or gravity pulling you down. Instead, you are being drawn deeper by love itself, by the natural attraction that consciousness has for its own source, the way a river is drawn by gravity toward the sea, but also by something much more profound than physical force. by the recognition of its own ultimate destination and meaning. In these profound depths, you encounter other beings who have learned to release their grip on compulsive thinking. They are not separate individuals floating in their own isolated bubbles of consciousness, but rather expressions of the same fundamental awareness that you are discovering yourself to be. Some appear as beings of pure light, some as forms of crystalline clarity, some as patterns of color and sound that seem to exist beyond the normal categories of perception. These beings welcome you not with words, but with a quality of recognition that goes deeper than any verbal communication. They recognize you as they recognize themselves, as expressions of the one consciousness that appears as many, as waves that seem separate but are actually movements of the same ocean, as rays of light that seem distinct but emerge from the same sun. In their presence, you feel the last vestiges of the isolation that comes from overthinking beginning to dissolve, the sense of being alone with your problems, alone with your worries, alone with the burden of trying to figure everything out by yourself. This loneliness evaporates like mist in the morning sun. You understand now that you have never been alone, that the very consciousness with which you think and worry and analyze is the same consciousness that thinks and dreams and experiences through every being in existence. This recognition of unity does not erase your individuality, but rather reveals the true nature of individuality as a unique expression of the universal consciousness, like a unique song that can only be sung by your particular voice, a unique perspective that can only be seen through your particular eyes, a unique gift that can only be given through your particular way of being in the world. From this perspective, even your struggles with overthinking are revealed to have been perfect expressions of consciousness, exploring itself, learning about its own nature through the experience of forgetting and remembering, of becoming lost in mental activity, and then finding its way back to the peace that was never actually lost. Your journey has been the universe's way of discovering what it means to think, what it means to worry, what it means to find peace again after being caught in the maze of mental complexity. Feel now how this understanding transforms your relationship to your own mental patterns. Instead of seeing overthinking as a personal failing or a problem to be solved, you can now see it as a chapter in the larger story of consciousness awakening to itself. This chapter has served its purpose, has taught you, and through you, the universe, what it needed to learn. And now, it is time for the next chapter to begin. The chapter in which consciousness rests in its own nature without the need for constant mental activity. This transition from one chapter to the next is happening now as gently and naturally as day transitioning into night, as automatically as winter transitioning into spring. There is no effort required on your part, no work to be done, no techniques to remember or practice. The transition is built into the very structure of consciousness itself. The way healing is built into the body, the way growth is built into plants, the way love is built into the heart. As this transition deepens, you begin to feel your individual awareness expanding beyond the boundaries of your personal history and concerns. Your consciousness becomes like a drop of water dissolving back into the ocean, not disappearing, but rather discovering its true vastness, its true nature as the ocean itself, temporarily appearing as a drop. In this expanded state, you can feel the consciousness of every being who has ever struggled with anxiety, with depression, with the feeling of being trapped in their own thoughts. You can feel their struggles not as separate problems happening to separate people, but as movements in your own expanded awareness, as experiences that consciousness is having through millions of different forms and perspectives. And in feeling their struggles, you also feel the healing that is available to each of them, the same healing that you are experiencing now. You feel the peace that lies at the heart of every anxious mind, the joy that exists beneath every depression, the freedom that waits within every feeling of mental imprisonment. This is not something you need to send to them or give to them, but something that is already present, already available, already flowing toward them through the same channels of consciousness through which it is flowing to you. Your own healing becomes a gateway through which this universal healing can flow more freely. Your own peace becomes a beacon that helps other beings remember their own capacity for peace. Your own freedom from compulsive thinking becomes a demonstration that such freedom is not only possible, but natural, not only available, but inevitable for every consciousness that is ready to receive it. As you rest in this awareness of your role in the larger healing of consciousness, you feel your body becoming even more relaxed, even more trusting, even more willing to let go of the last vestiges of control and effort. Your muscles, which have perhaps been holding the tension of mental effort for years, now release completely into the supporting embrace of the liquid consciousness that surrounds and fills you. Your nervous system, which has been firing with the electricity of constant mental activity, now settles into the deeper rhythms of restoration and repair. The neural pathways that have been worn deep by repetitive thinking begin to relax and soften, while new pathways begin to form. Pathways that lead not to more thinking, but to deeper states of peace, to more profound levels of trust, to greater capacity for simply being present with what is without the need to immediately process or understand it. Your brain itself begins to change its patterns of activity, shifting from the fast beta waves of analytical thinking to the slower alpha waves of relaxed awareness, and then deeper still into the theta waves where healing and integration naturally occur. These slower brain waves create the perfect conditions for the deep restoration that your system has been craving. The kind of restoration that can only happen when the conscious mind finally gives up its exhausting job of trying to manage every aspect of experience. As your brain waves slow and deepen, you begin to approach the threshold between waking and sleeping, between conscious awareness and the deeper consciousness that continues its work even when the surface mind is at rest. This is not a loss of consciousness, but rather a shift into a different kind of consciousness, one that operates according to different principles, one that can accomplish in a few hours of deep rest what the thinking mind might not be able to accomplish in years of effort. As you rest now at this sacred threshold between waking and sleeping, between the consciousness that thinks and the consciousness that simply is, you find yourself cradled in the most profound peace you have ever known. This peace is not the absence of activity, but rather the presence of something so fundamental, so essential, that it needs no activity to sustain itself. It is the peace that exists at the heart of every storm, the stillness that makes all movement possible, the silence that gives birth to every sound. Feel now how this peace begins to weave itself into the very structure of your being, not as something foreign that must be maintained through effort, but as the recognition of what you have always been beneath the layers of mental activity. Each cell in your body begins to vibrate with this peace. Each organ begins to function from this place of deep rest. Each system begins to operate from the wisdom that knows how to maintain perfect health and balance without the need for conscious oversight. Your heart beats with the rhythm of this peace, each beat a gentle affirmation of your belonging in the vast web of existence. Your lungs breathe with the breath of this peace, each inhalation drawing in not just air but the essence of life itself, each exhalation releasing not just carbon dioxide but any remaining resistance to the natural flow of your being. Your blood carries this peace to every corner of your body, delivering not just oxygen and nutrients, but the healing frequency of deep rest to every cell that has been touched by the stress of overthinking. As this cellular transformation continues, you begin to feel your individual boundaries becoming more and more transparent, more and more permeable to the ocean of consciousness in which you float. You are like a wave that is slowly realizing it was never separate from the sea, like a cloud that is beginning to understand it was never apart from the sky. The edges of your personal identity soften and blur, not disappearing but becoming more fluid, more open to the larger identity that includes all beings, all experiences, all possibilities. In this state of fluid identity, you discover that you can be simultaneously completely yourself and completely universal, totally individual and totally connected, perfectly unique and perfectly unified with all that is. This is the paradox that the thinking mind could never solve through analysis, but that reveals itself naturally when consciousness rests in its own essential nature. From this place of profound unity, you begin to receive the final gifts of this journey into deep peace. These gifts come not as thoughts or insights that you need to remember, but as permanent transformations in the way your consciousness relates to itself and to life. They are woven into your being so completely that they will continue to unfold and develop long after this session has ended, long after you have awakened from the deep sleep that now beckons to you. The first gift is the gift of natural detachment, the ability to observe the arising and passing of thoughts and emotions without being pulled into their drama, without needing to solve or fix or understand every mental formation that appears in your awareness. This detachment is not cold or distant, but rather warm and compassionate, the way a loving parent might watch a child playing, fully present and caring, but not needing to control or direct every moment of the play. The second gift is the gift of deep trust, the knowing that life itself is intelligent and benevolent, that the universe is constantly working to support your highest good, even when your thinking mind cannot see how this could be possible. This trust allows you to relax the exhausting effort of trying to manage and control every aspect of your experience, knowing that you are held within a wisdom far greater than your individual understanding. The third gift is the gift of natural rhythm, the ability to move through life in harmony with the deeper cycles and seasons of your own being, knowing when to act and when to rest, when to engage and when to withdraw, when to think and when to simply be present with what is. This rhythm cannot be learned through rules or techniques, but arises naturally when you are aligned with the deeper intelligence that governs all natural processes. The fourth gift is the gift of effortless presence, the capacity to be fully here, fully now, without the constant pull of the mind toward past regrets or future worries. This presence is not a state you need to maintain through vigilance, but rather your natural condition when the habitual patterns of mental time travel have been released. The fifth and final gift is the gift of unconditional peace, a peace that does not depend on circumstances being a certain way, on problems being solved, on life meeting your expectations. This is the peace that passes understanding, the peace that exists at your core, regardless of what storms may be occurring on the surface of your experience. These gifts are yours now, permanently woven into the fabric of your being. They will continue to develop and mature as you live your life, becoming more natural and accessible with each day that passes. You do not need to think about them or try to remember them or work to implement them. They will simply be there when you need them, the way your heart is simply there beating without your conscious attention, the way your lungs are simply there breathing without your deliberate control. As these gifts settle into the deepest places within you, you feel your consciousness preparing for the final transition into sleep. But this will not be ordinary sleep, not the unconscious escape from experience that sleep sometimes becomes when the mind is too tired to process what it has encountered during the day. This will be conscious sleep, aware sleep, sleep that continues the work of healing and integration at the deepest levels, while your surface mind rests completely. In this conscious sleep, your dreams will be guided by the same intelligence that has been guiding this entire journey. The intelligence that knows exactly what experiences will serve your continued awakening to your true nature. Some dreams may be peaceful and restorative, like floating in gentle currents of healing light. Others may be more active, providing opportunities to practice your new capacity for detached awareness as you navigate various scenarios without being pulled into identification with the dream characters or situations. All of these dreams will serve the same ultimate purpose: to continue the process of freeing your consciousness from the compulsive patterns of overthinking and establishing it more firmly in the natural peace that is your birthright. Upon awakening, you may remember these dreams clearly, or they may fade from memory like morning mist, but their transformative effect will remain, continuing to work in your system like medicine that has been perfectly calibrated to your specific needs. Now, as you prepare to surrender completely to this healing sleep, take a moment to appreciate the journey you have taken tonight. You began as someone who felt trapped in patterns of overthinking, someone who perhaps felt overwhelmed by the constant activity of your own mind. You are ending as someone who has remembered their true nature as peaceful awareness itself, someone who has rediscovered their capacity to exist in deep tranquility without the need for constant mental activity. This transformation is real and permanent. Tomorrow, when you awaken, you will find that your relationship to your own thoughts has fundamentally changed. They will still arise, as thoughts naturally do in human consciousness, but they will no longer have the power to trap you in endless loops of analysis and worry. You will be able to use your thinking mind when thinking is needed, and to rest in peaceful awareness when thinking is not required. Feel now how your body settles even more deeply into the soft support that holds you. Feel how your breathing becomes so gentle and natural that it requires no attention from you whatsoever. Feel how your heartbeat slows to the perfect rhythm for deep restoration. Feel how every muscle, every organ, every cell in your body releases into the healing embrace of sleep. Your eyes, if they are not already closed, now close naturally and easily, sealing away the visual world so that your inner vision can turn toward the landscapes of dream and restoration. Your mind, which has perhaps been so active for so long, now settles into the perfect stillness from which all healthy mental activity arises and to which it naturally returns. You are safe. You are loved. You are held within the infinite embrace of the consciousness that is your deepest nature. As you drift now into the healing realm of sleep, know that every moment of rest serves not only your own awakening, but the awakening of all consciousness everywhere. Your peace is a gift to the world. Your freedom from compulsive thinking is a contribution to the liberation of all beings. Sleep now, deeply and peacefully, knowing that you will awaken refreshed and renewed, carrying within you the permanent gifts of this journey. Sleep in the confidence that your mind has remembered how to rest, how to trust, how to exist in natural harmony with the deeper intelligence of life. Sleep in the knowledge that you are exactly where you belong, exactly who you are meant to be, exactly as perfect as consciousness itself, expressing through the unique and beautiful form that is your life. Let go now, completely and totally, into the healing darkness of conscious sleep. Let the lake of peace carry you into the deepest restoration you have ever known. Rest now in the arms of the infinite and allow the gentle currents of healing to continue their perfect work while you sleep the sleep of the truly peaceful, the sleep of those who have remembered their true nature as awareness itself. Sleep deeply, peacefully, completely, knowing that you are loved beyond measure, supported beyond imagination, and held within the perfect peace that is your eternal home. Sleep now and rest in the infinite embrace of your own deepest nature. Sleep.